Hey everybody, so once you start being even interested in getting in touch with your intuition, you're going to have to develop a fondness for peace and quiet. Hi, I'm Fran Gallagher. I'm your guide to relationships, meditation, and intuition. So you have probably heard that phrase, that still small voice within. If you're like me, you're like, what still small voice within? Uh, it's annoying at first when you aren't familiar with the voice of intuition, maybe even the voice of guidance. And you're going to have to acclimate to a bit of quiet to be able to hear it. I know that for me, I have to be really in touch with myself to feel like I'm on board with my intuition, I'm experiencing guidance, all that fun stuff. So I remember going on a vacation with someone, and every time we walked into a hotel room, he would turn on the television. And he couldn't find anything. We were in a European country, and he couldn't find anything on the television to watch. I think there were a lot of ABBA concerts. And I said, well, you could leave it off. And after an hour or so, he said, wow, you can really think when you don't have the television on. Yes, that's the truth. So you're also going to be getting in touch with your habits of thinking. You're going to find out what the content of your thoughts are. And that's a whole nother subject, that's another video. But I know for me, I had to really find out all the tapes that were playing in my head. There were so many, and they were really negative and extremely critical of me. Lots of voices that told me that I was stupid, that I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know that until I slowed down and I got quiet. The other value of peace and quiet is the first word, peace. When there's a lot of emotion flowing and people aren't being responsible and accountable for their emotions, it means that there's a level of emotional trash that is in any given space, any room, that you're literally wading through. It's as if you are or you're living with a hoarder. It's the same thing. When people are responsible for their emotions, what that means is that they're careful about whether or not to express their emotions, and they are taking the time to feel their emotions rather than spraying their emotional state all over the room. This is going to make a really big difference in your space, and it's going to make a big difference if you are responsible for your emotions. Peace and quiet are going to first magnify what's in your head and the habits you have around thinking and feeling. As you clean those habits up, i.e., make your self-talk useful and enjoyable, what an idea, and be responsible for your feelings, i.e., feel them, and start to pause and decide whether or not and how you are going to express them, your whole world is going to change. And you're going to be able to experience that still small voice within. You're going to be able to experience intuition. Now, if you choose to take my Trust Your Gut program, which is coming up in October, we really focus on what are your inner senses? In other words, what senses are bringing your experience to you so that you can recognize them and develop them further? Again, that's a subject for another day, but I want you to just imagine that if your head is cluttered with your thoughts, with TV, radio, music, other people, and their voices and their messages, it's going to be harder to find your experience. Now, sometimes it's wonderful to have music on, but you're going to need to curate that music so that it is supportive of your intuition. And of course, not always, but how do you develop your priorities, for instance? Whether you work for someone else or you work for yourself, how do you develop your priorities? You're likely to be thinking about what's the priority and then perhaps writing that down, which is a really good business practice, whether you work for yourself or someone else. I have these notebooks, they look terrible because they're falling apart, and I'm not done with them because I have really been relying on my notebooks. I'm afraid I think of them as my external brain. So writing down a few ideas gets those ideas out of your head. Otherwise, what you want to pick up at the grocery store will be knocking around in your head like sneakers in a dryer. And writing down what you want to get at the grocery store, for me today it was mayo, writing it down gets it out of my head so it's not knocking around. You're going to be developing habits that allow your intuition to speak to you in whatever language it uses, whether it's visual, auditory, through smell or taste, through the felt sense, or simply through knowing. You're going to be able to be in touch with your intuition and be guided and be able to really develop priorities so you know what matters. So I'm doing a master class which is going to help you with that, and it is next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, starting Tuesday, August 31st, going through September 1st and September 2nd. It will be noon Mountain Time, and it'll run, the first day will just be 30 minutes. The next 2 days will creep up, so Wednesday will probably be 45 minutes, and Thursday will be an hour on Zoom, and then we can interact with one another more. So I'd love to have you there. And the Zoom invitation will be in the Facebook group, and the Facebook group is forming, so you'll be seeing it soon. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will hope to see you next week for that crystal ball no one seems to have. You have it. You really do. And it's so fun once you get in touch with your own crystal ball, your ability to have a heads up about what's going on in your life, and feel guided, feel on track. So I want this for you. Join me. Thanks.